Bloody hilarious, right? Right. Right. Here we are, patch breakdown time after my EMOM last night, which was... I'm inclined to say it was rubbish, but it wasn't rubbish. It wasn't rubbish at all. And people are very kind and people are very encouraging. But for me, as my personal assessment of my performance was that, what on earth am I doing? And what's funny, not really funny, but funny, is that I've just set it up here and it's beautiful again. It's awesome. How was I not able to bring this awesomeness, which I've been playing with all afternoon, bring that awesomeness to the actual gig? I completely, if you like, failed on all of my own guidelines in that I wasn't practiced enough. I didn't have enough light. I couldn't really see. The funny thing about the light was that I've got these lights and I took them and I didn't turn them on. I had them set up and I didn't turn them on, and I'm fiddling around going, why can't I see? So the light wasn't right. The sound wasn't right. Couldn't quite hear everything. Everything was a bit muddy. I could have done things about that. And then, I don't know. It just did. There were some moments, but I had a lot of time to fill with my little riff, and for a couple of minutes, that's pretty brilliant. I did have some variations that I tried to find, and I did, and then I decided, like 10 minutes in, that I've really got to do something else. So I put myself out there. I risked improvising a completely new melody line, which I then didn't do very well. I also accidentally hit the tuning knob when everything went pshoom, and so on. And yet when I come back to it today, it's just a beautiful little bit of sort of techno electronica. It's lovely. Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I just do that? The hi-hats were too loud as well. I managed to put that all the way up, which is no good. You just want it ticking away in the background, just that little bit. The patch that I took, the patch that I felt was, this is what I could perform with, was really good, was solid. There's some really nice elements in it, which I'll take you through in a minute, because I really like what's going on here for a number of reasons, but somehow I just wasn't able to quite pull that into the reality of the performance, which was a shame. And interestingly, I was also followed by a guy who had an enormous amount of gear, and a whole table full of, he had an access virus, he had Ableton running with controllers upon controller upon controller and other synths and bits and pieces, and did this blinder of a proper dance music set with everything going. And I'm sitting here with my one drum pattern thinking, maybe I could have come up with another drum pattern, you know? I mean, it's not outside the realms of possibility that I could actually generate more than just the one thing to play with. Yeah. Well, anyway, enough navel gazing about what could have been. And see, in here, I can do every drop. Every drop works. Every techno drop, every build, every hit the what's it on the thingamajig. Here, in this environment, it works. Or at least I think it does in my head. And it's probably more realistic is that I've done it 15 times and then I've actually nailed it. Whereas at the gig, I could not drop anything on anything. I did record it. I don't know whether I want to put it out there. I mean, ultimately because I want people to be impressed by my music. I want people to think, hey, I want to book that guy for my gig. I want to have him, take him on tour as a support of Japan, you know, which I'm open to. You know, just get in touch. You want to take me on tour? Fantastic, I'll do that. You want to, you know, make a record? Let's do it. So I don't necessarily need poor quality EMOMs out there showing me in such a, well, literally a poor light because the lighting was bad. But the post-gig analysis is always interesting. It's always interesting, and I'm sure I didn't do anywhere near as bad as I feel I did, because I didn't do anything wrong. Well, I know it's other than the tuning thing, and then trying to put a thing in that didn't really. Anyway, people said they enjoyed it, so that's nice. So I'll stop ruminating, and I'm going to take you through the patch because it's really nice. Yeah, let's do that. But before I bring you in, you know, closer to see what's going on, I just want to talk about these two cases. Now, if you've been following my little story, you know that I've ended up with this case, the Bafako case, as my performance case. Fantastic, 104 HP across 2 rows and then a row of 1U. It's been working brilliantly. I've done the last synth east with it, or 2, I think. I have tried using 2 cases, and that's just too much. I've used a case and a bit. Sometimes I spill out a little bit because you can never quite get enough, so it seems, because I'm always aiming for around 4 voices. Trying to fit that into a case can be a little bit of a challenge. What's more of a challenge is fitting such things into something smaller, but that's been really very interesting. So these are the cases that Lavandel at Schreiber Maschine built for me. They're beautiful. This one's Wendy, this one's Delia, which is really nice. Bez has no impact on what's actually in the case. That's a whole other story. But building a little voice into a case like this has been a fascinating exercise. I've really, really enjoyed it, and it's brought a whole other, I don't know, sense of thought to what I'm doing, because I'm overwhelmed by modules and possibilities, and trying to hone that down into something that makes some kind of sense within its own context has been refreshing, rejuvenating for me, I feel. So this is the first one I put together, the Delia, and I just went for a synth voice, just a synthesizer voice, just an oscillator, filter, bit of modulation and effects, just enough. Because ultimately these little systems I'm trying to build into an interesting instrument in of itself, so I can pick it up and play it, and then potentially rent these out for other people to have a go with, so that you could also take this away, have a go, see what you think, and enjoy it as the instrument that it is. So for this EMOM, I decided that I was going to take this one, which I'd already worked on, which was pretty cool. I liked it, enjoyed it. I wanted to add something else to it. And in doing so, I also wanted to introduce a couple of new modules I hadn't really used before, which was another flaw in my EMOM thinking, using things you're not familiar with. But I get excited. I get excited about new modules, and I go, wow, this is it. This is the one. I do that a lot. I do apologise. But in this case, for the Shakmat Bishop's, I'm going to have to work out how to pronounce this, Miscellany Mark II, I think it's, for me, a bit of a game changer. Oh, there's that word, game changer. I will be doing a full review of this, but we'll be looking at it in a little bit of detail in this video, just a little bit, as we go through bits and pieces. So I wanted to base another system on that, and totally you can. And this is actually running both systems because it's essentially a dual channel sequencer. And so I then had to build a voice into here, and I experimented with the Diktaat's voice, which is a beautiful bit of synthesizer. But again, also, you need to spend time with it because it's slightly odd the way it works, and I need to get my head into it again. So I played with it a bit and thought, yeah, this is nice, but I'm a bit fuzzy over what these bits do and how to make that really sound as good as I want it to. So I decided, no, I'm going to try something else. And so I went back to the Monumatic, which I've reviewed recently from Knobula, and then paired it up with the Echo Cinematic, which is a very natural thing to do to give it a little bit of change and movement and effect, and that's worked beautifully. I then also wanted to include some percussion, so I don't just have two things going on, and I was able to get the Mzourack Diktaat. Got to think of it like Tic Tac. It's a Diktaat, which is a brilliant little trigger sequencer. But again, I had to learn some few basic functions on it because I hadn't really used it very much up until now, and I want to trying to write a review on it, and I need to get close into it. So all of this, putting these things together, was very, very useful for me personally as I'm trying to make videos and reviews and write reviews about half of the gear that's in here. But then taking it to an EMOM is really being on the edge, I think. But running with two cases like this was really nice, really nice. I like the vibe. I like the fact I can go la 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 la. I like that this has got an intention. This has got an intention. It looks beautiful. The aesthetic is just great. I'm enjoying it very, very much. I have to say, very much. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but yeah, I mean, it didn't end up being any lighter to carry because I had to stick this all in a suitcase and drag that along. So it ended up being pretty much just as heavy as it is with that. But I liked it. There was nothing that was superfluous, well, other than this malt here and molten toll. What was that noise? Oh, yeah. Okay, careful of the power. The other thing that you may have noticed if you're following my probably on Facebook or something, I've been talking about running this off USB, which I have been, and I was running it from this, which I got a couple of years ago from Beep Boop Electronics, which is a USB power supply. Great idea. I had that in here, and it was working absolutely fine, brilliantly, and then it wasn't, and I don't know why. So halfway through yesterday, it just started turning off and on again. And I get the feeling that because it was hot, that the power supply essentially that I was running it through, just this USB connector, was probably overheating and starting to either leak current or reduce its output, something along those lines, and that it was just too much of a drop, and that would turn that off, and that would ruin things. So I pulled it all out, stuck in a Bafaco power supply, linked the two up, which is great and simple, and that worked fine. So that's good, but I'm losing HP in doing that. Now, Beep Boop, Jacket Beep Boop is sending me a bunch of new ones of these without this bit, just sort of the power supply, a new version he's done, which will run with some trailing cables, some flying bus cables. And I hope that that's going to solve my problem for these little cases, because that would be ideal, rather than having to have a wall wart, a big chunky laptop supply or something which goes with it. I'm hoping to just be able to use USB. So that's a plan, but that's all coming up. So that's the talk about these cases as it is. Let's just bring you in, just have a look at the individual voices and what's going on, just because it's fun. Isn't it fun? I don't know. That seems to be why I'm here. I don't know. I hope it's useful to you in some way in explaining what on earth this was about, and then we can go and laugh at me trying to actually do the performance itself last night. Right, anyway. Okay, from left to right, let's start off with my little drum section here. So I've got these XO drum modules based on an 808, I guess, a kick, a snare and a hi-hat, close and open. Then I've got the Mzourack Diktaat running it. Sorry, I don't know why I stumble on that particular word. It's just there's nothing I can do about it. Now this is a phenomenal little trigger sequencer that I am just starting to get the hang of a little bit. And then I've taken the output of the kick drum, put that through the punk feedback punk module here to give it a bit more extra oomph. Not quite sure whether that was needed or not, but I had this space, so I thought, heck, let's put something in. Then the output of all of those is going into the phenomenally useful Pony VCF. Useful because it has 3 inputs. I've got 3 modules, 3 inputs. Just brilliant. Totally brilliant. So it gives me a whole sort of, DJ filtering vibe on my drums. Which is just great. And level control, individual level control. So I did have a trouble with my hi-hats being too high because I did a little bit of that and I left it too high. I just need that about there. So I can really wind up that kick drum if I so wish using the punk. But very quickly, how this works, it's just a thing. It's a trigger sequencer, and you just you go into record mode and you record stuff into it. So like, for instance, for this snare, if I clear it, it's as simple as that. You can set, of course, length and division and quantize and all those sorts of things. Very easy to do. Then got a mute button down here. So I don't have to use the volume controls here. I'll use whatever feels more grabbable in the performance, if you see what I mean. You then got a couple of extra sort of performance bits. You've got a break. Like so. Can't get it to land on the snare. That's better. Interesting. You've also got a shred. I think that says shred. I can't really read it from here, which is kind of like a solo. Lots of other stuff. That's as far in as I've got. You can save patterns and load patterns and stuff like that. I've also got this as a tempo if I go back to the break. Which can help, but it also changes the tempo overall with the right sort of thing of buttons. So that whole unit, I'm really enjoying everything about that. The filter, working with the Diktaat. I just need a clap from somewhere, but then that's going to be 4 channels. That makes things more difficult. Yeah, that's really nice. I'm enjoying that. So I'll do a full review of the Diktaat relatively soon. I think I want to get into that as soon as I can. But it's so far it's really living up to all the expectations I had when I first discovered it. The filter thing, yeah. I mean, one of the problems I think I have sometimes in performance is that I get I get nervous, and that means I lose a little bit of confidence. And so my ability to sort of techno DJ my way through the set just diminishes and falls flat, and I end up feeling like a silly old fart trying to do kids music. Whereas, you know, you want to be absolutely on that filter, and it's a great idea. You just need to have something else to drop in with it. I need to work on how do I do an effective filter sweep and then into something else. That is the key. That is the key. I will get to it. I'll definitely get to it. Right, next up is the Monumatic, and this little selection of bits and pieces here, which is going to bring us to the Bishop's Miscellany also. So what is going on with this? I hear you say, well, simply this has been used as a voice, and it's been driven by the Bishops here, which is sending it a melody line that I have recorded into the thing, right? I've recorded it in, and it's loaded, and it's working. That's simple. And that just goes round. I can load another one and use that also. And it's gate and CV, so it's triggering this. And I can then play with it as much as I like. Yeah, very simple. Now, I did at one point decide to change it all, and I was using the sleight of hand to write another sequence. Because what you can do is you turn it on, turn it into recording, and I can now record a new sequence into it. And that caused a bit of hilarity because I had quantization on a scale on, and then I wasn't playing the right notes in that scale, so it wasn't playing what I thought I was, so I was then getting confused. Anyway, so I can add something else just by going. But the trick with the Bishops is that you've then got to disable record. I've either got to hold record and do it, or have it record fixed as it is now and then release it. Otherwise it just rewrites itself again. So I'm going to take it out of hold and see if I can just hold it and do it. It's just getting the hang of it is the thing. That's the thing. Let me have some drums to help me, I think. Would be good at this point. Yeah, very simple. Let's go up to 64 steps, so I got a little bit longer to play with. That's simple, really. It's really great. But the other thing is that you can then add variations and processes and regeneration on a touch of a button. So I've got this thing called path attached. I've got a couple of sort of severity knobs that you can't really see, but don't worry, I'm just giving you a very, very brief overload. And then if I hit this button, it starts to throw that in. Which is just mystically glorious. Now, I haven't quite worked out timing quantization and bits and pieces on this quite yet. As I say, I've only started to scratch the surface. All I know is that I can record a sequence in, I can save it and load it, and then press this button and do funny things to it. I mean, I can go back up. I go to the sequence load and load the original sequence. Wrong channel. I'm on channel 2, oddly. There are also other things you can do. Don't know what knob does. So there's a load of things here. I have no idea what they do most of the time. So I've got a lot to get into. But there's an arpeggiator, quite nice. You got randomizing. Meanwhile, I've got the Echo Cinematic here, which is an effects unit, EQ, delay and reverb, does a really good overload on feedback. That randomization function is really nice. That one's less nice. Very interesting. There's a lot to look into in this. It's got a lot of depth and interesting bits to it. It's got CV control over various things. It's got these different processes and stuff going on. But what I absolutely love about it is the ability to tap in a sequence and it to be recorded as it happened. So rather than having to set the pitch on an individual step or having to type in notes and rests like you would on a 101 type sequencer, you just play it and it records it, and that's brilliant. I totally love that. I mean, in combination with another sequencer which does more traditional things, I think it could be absolutely brilliant, because you can put in those things that aren't a constant stream of notes. You can have a couple of notes go in just easily, quickly. You have that dialed up. You can save a whole bunch of those patterns or melodies that you create within the thing, and then you can playlist through them. Just brilliant. This could be an absolute wonderful thing for me. And there's two channels. So the other channel is over here on this side of things. I had to take this out because it was making a bunch of noise. I think the my stasis leak here from Frequency Central, which I finally took the trouble to take out the LED and turn it around and put it back in again. So I've now got an LED on it, which is quite exciting, but it seems to be generating a bunch of noise. I mean, I'm assuming it's that at the moment. It may be something else. It's not there just now. So that's good. So what's going on here? Well, the same idea. It's being sequenced by the bishop again, so that's where the sound's coming from. But for here, I'm using the nCarinae from Knob Technology. Brilliant oscillator, colourful, yes, but also just sounds so great. You've got such variation. as you go around between these tones. I can't remember exactly what that's doing, but it's doing a thing. And then so is this. And you can go round to some very pure stuff, always round to noise. So I think this is selecting the waveform, and then this is doing a little bit of pulse width modulation with it, that kind of thing. But it's nice. Got an octave knob, which I like. Then I've got it running through the good old Joe filter, which I haven't used for ages because I've had other filters to look at. But it's just a beautifully liquid Roland filter, which just works hard all day long. Now, in this case, I've got the Batumi here, the old Batumi, the version 1, and I've got that going through the molten motion meter at the top, which is combining into the filter. So I've got an LFO here, and I've got the envelope in this one up here. You can see that? Yeah, you can see that. The envelope's coming from the Erica envelope generator 2 here, which has got variable gate length, which is something I want to look into a bit more because it's something which fascinates me, and envelopes have never been my friend. But this seems to work relatively well, as far as I can work out. But I've got this going through channel 4 and an LFO going through channel 3, combining those two together to run the cutoff on the Jove, just to give it this movement, this constant movement, which is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I can see what's going on. You know, the motion meter was such a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing that I designed. Yeah, absolutely it is. It's so phenomenally useful. Because over here, I've also got channel 2, got another LFO going into channel 2, which is then going into the nCarinae here to change the waveform on that over time as well. Just gently, just moving gently. And then finally, I'm using channel 1 as an audio attenuator, because this side was far louder than that side, and I don't have any sort of mixing facility. I've just got the output bus, certificate output bus over here, which is brilliant, totally awesome thing, but there's no mixing. It's just everything goes straight in and is summed and goes out. And it's phenomenally useful, but you need to change the level somewhere else. So the output, ultimately, of the voice is going into channel 1 here, and I'm able to change that here, which I just left balanced with the other one because I totally forgot I could use that to change the level. That never occurred to me. How interesting. But that could play all day, and it's just lovely. It's, you know, it's changing, it's moving, it's just really nice. Elsewhere in here, I've got the Upper Darkness at the top, which is what runs its own sequence, normally speaking, when I've not got this tied together with something else. So that gives it its independence. And then rather than the output bus, I would usually use the startup module from music thing, modular, which has got a clock in it, which can run the Upper Darkness and make everything work. But I had to do a little bit of change around. I've also got a little low pass gate put in here just for fun, just for something different if you wanted to use that. But otherwise, it's a lovely little thing. And I can give it a different sequence from up here. This is running channel 1. Or I could record something. Oh, I did the same mistake before. So there you go. What I'll probably do is leave you with some of the terrible footage from the EMOM to enjoy. Feels like it needs a reset. I think it needs a reset. I haven't quite gotten into that bit yet. Let's see if I can. Where should I get it? What should I do? If I give it a clock from somewhere else. Is that better? Possibly. It was a beautiful patch. Beautiful patch. How could I mess it up so poorly? So badly? I don't know. Anyway, I hope that was interesting or helpful or whatever. EMOMs are fantastic. They're fantastic places to go and try stuff out, to give it a go and generally speaking, they're a very forgiving and lovely crowd of people who are just into the whole idea, you know, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So go and support your local EMOM. Even if you don't play, go and listen, because it's nice, it's fun, there's interesting stuff happening. You just never know what quite might go on. So yeah, thanks EMOM again for letting me abuse your ears. It's a beautiful thing. I'll keep going as often as I can. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.